Hello and welcome to PM Personality Profile. My name is Nana Ansakwa the fourth. There are certain interviews that I get quite excited about. Number one, if it's a woman, I thought, that's good. And I know I sound like a broken record because I always say, women have to do, 10 times as more before men would then take them as one. So anytime you see a woman being taken, it means she's done a lot behind the scenes. But particularly if the woman is young, then it's like, whoa, because normally you have to be quite old before we recognize you. But my guest today is quite young, and she's proven herself worthy enough to tell her story. And the whole idea is that somebody out there watching will be touched. Change and model your life around that determination and that fighting spirit. And that's why I am here to talk to Eugenia Tachie Menson. Why? Stay tuned and find out. Thank you very much for staying. And at this time, if your kids are not by the telly, you want to go and get them, I promise you. Because by the end of this interview, they will walk away with something positive, something very much needed in our society today. Mauna, thank you very much for finding time in the busy schedule, for inviting us here.
Thanks for having me on your program.
Now, one reason why I'm glad to come and talk to you is that normally, we have sorry stories. I walked from Brekum to Sunyani barefooted, and when we got there, we lived on termites and all these stories. But your case is different. I mean, this is not about you walk nowhere. You drove to school and drove back, and you made it, and you still make it. So we want to hear a good story, and the best is yet to come. But we want to go back to childhood. I mean, you were at the B, or?
No, I wasn't at Dadabe. That I can tell you for free.
Well, you fooled me.
But I attended Dadabe school. So,
Okay.
yes. So you had to keep up, Whilst you're a Jabba, you have to keep up the Dadabe part as well. But yes, I grew up with my brothers. I've always grown up with boys around me. I'm the second. Two brothers. I'm the second of three children to my parents.
Heavily protected, then I imagine.
They're not protected. I protect them. My brothers don't protect me. Even till date, I fight their fight. Okay. And I think because I'm in the middle, I've always had to be vocal to be heard. I was in Richard School for primary school.
Okay.
Again, which I say that even though it was a Dadaba school then, maybe still is now. We were not from the typical Dadaba background. Back then, even though my parents were diplomats, they were public servants in the real sense of the word.
Okay.
Anything we had, cars or whatever, was for the state. It wasn't for them. And our parents made sure that we understood that, that you work hard for everything. My dad came from, his parents were illiterate. My mom's dad was literate. But basically they had come from an era where it was from nothing and they had to make it on their own.
Okay.
So we were not fed with life is easy. I've walked from Achimota to Kokomlemle before. Granted, I wasn't 18 then. I think I was older. I was then working someplace. So anyway, I finished Maoli school, I finished Richard school and then went on to Maoli school for secondary, and then went on to Institute of Journalism, majoring in PR, even though I didn't want, majoring in journalism, even though I wanted public relations. It's stuck on my lips. I badly wanted public relations, but I was never offered it, and I was made to read journalism. And after that, actually, I started working with Joy FM before going to journalism school.
Okay.
And then after that, I went on to the UK to study communications and majored in PR. So yay.
So you go back to your PR.
I go back to my PR.
You should go back to the school classes.
I know, yeah.
Good. Now I'll come back to Joy, but let's do a bit of Maoli. Were you there? Always in the library, bookworm there with me. You were out there with the girls.
No, actually, I wasn't a very studious girl.
Okay.
I was the entertainment. I loved entertainment. I loved fashion. I was never in the top 10. You'll find me maybe in the top 20 academically. I was never in the top 10, top 20, because you can't bring bad grades home, period. So I'll always make sure I remembered that in the third term you have to give it your all. But it was 5 wonderful years. Eventually, when I started, I didn't like it. I never wanted to go to a mixed school, and I found myself there. So I didn't like it. But by the 3rd year, I started enjoying it. I learned a lot, living in an environment with, boarding facility with men, how you behave, or boys and men, actually. I was a chorister.
Okay. Now, let me ask this. Were you a chorister because choristers are not allowed to read school?
Yes, I was just going to come to that. That was the only reason I was a chorister. And my mom was proud of me because she was a chorister, but she did for the right reasons. I for the wrong reasons. It was Tuesdays we used to go for choir practice. It was Tuesdays we went to the farm to read. So quickly I joined, and thankfully I had a good voice.
Okay.
So I wasn't kicked out, because some were kicked out. Some were just kicked out. And I think I looked angelic, so they believed my story that I truly want to worship God and be a chorister. So I was a chorister. I think that was the highlight for me in Maoli School. We sang, I think, our 40th anniversary, Rollins. We were then under, I think, PNBC era, I think. I can't remember the year, 89 maybe. And Rollins came to our speech and prize giving day, and we sang for him, and he patted me on the back. Without knowing who he was, it was just, like that. But I enjoyed it. It's unfortunate I don't have pictures, but he did pat me on the back. So it was great. I think that's where I met my first boyfriend. Again, within limits. In a boarding school, there were limits. I made a lot of friends there as well. It was good. It was good 5 years. It was a good 5 years.
I mean, looking back, would you have done an all girls, or you think that the mixed,
I think the mixed balanced me. The mixed balanced me. Again, I'm saying this based on my personality. An all girls school may work for somebody else, but the mixed balanced me. And it was, for me, it was a continuation of what it was at home. It was just me and my mom who were always the females. There were more males, so I knew how to mingle with boys easily. I knew how to converse with boys. And then I actually didn't get on well with girls. I didn't get on well with girls because they found me too much of a tomboy, which I was. I started becoming feminine later in my 20s. So I was very much of a tomboy. I would do the tie thing, you name it. I was doing it, bicycle riding, and I was always with boys. And I think girls found me a bit aggressive. So yeah, but I if I had to do it again, I'll do a mixed school.
No, that's
I'll
good.
do a mixed
That's
school.
good.
Yeah.
But mom and dad, who's more of a disciplinarian, and
my mom.
how's the discipline?
It's always the woman, isn't
it?
It's my mom. My mom was. Sometimes I think I become my mom, but my mom was the disciplinarian. Men are half of the time not around. If they are, they will always spoil their only daughters anyway. My mom used to tell me how. When I was a baby, and let's say you're my friend and you were eating a sweetie, all I needed to do is tell my father, I want that, and he will pull it out of your mouth and give it to me. Or say a friend. But yeah, my mom was a disciplinarian. My dad was when I became a teenager, so I saw that side of him. But I think my mom more, because I lost my dad earlier on, so my mom was just strict, very strict. There are no ifs and buts about her. It's either black or white. Right. Because that's how she was also brought up. So yeah, she was, and I think she has instilled that in all of her children, with liberties here and there. But generally, we're also disciplinarians to some extent. I mean, a lot of my colleagues think that I'm too much. Yes, when I take on the grammar hat.
I better watch my grammar while I'm doing this interview. So from GIJ to Joy, or from Joy to GIJ?
It was Joy, GIJ at the same time.
At the same time?
Yes.
Now, you were the pioneers, right?
Yes.
How was it back then? I mean, Joy is 20 years old now.
It was like, for me, it was like secondary school, but day. Because we were all young then. We were all either just finished school or about finishing school. And in fact, some of us actually slept there when there were events. So if, let's say, tomorrow was soup kitchen, we would sleep over today because we had to go out and give our tickets to the boys in the central Accra. So some of us slept over. Actually, when we started soup kitchen, the girls were cooking ourselves. So we're chopping onions and chopping tomatoes or getting it blended. It was just Honestly, it was like a day school.
Camping.
Yeah. Without sleeping. And we were, because we had just started, the novelty of private radio ate into us. Almost all of us had our parents complaining that, you're spending too much time. We were working Sunday to Sunday.
Wow.
Sunday through Sunday. Not because we were made to, because we enjoyed it. And we loved the company. A lot of the friendships and alliances I have now in my life are from Joy FM.
Wow.
It was young. It was Kwesi Chum, again, was the new crop of young CEOs who wanted to be called by their first name. Kwesi will actually penalize you if you call them Mr. Chum. He insisted, call me Kwesi. And so that set the tone for all of us to be very informal, but very professional. Everybody in there who was one way or the other informal had been trained in whatever it was they were doing. So I started with a bit of radio, with a bit of on-air. Everybody expected me to go into the newsroom, but I'm not a news person, not at all. I find it too boring. I like telling stories. So I did a bit of on-air. I hosted Cosmo Mix before when Doreen wasn't away. I did lunchtime rhythms, and I did multi-track show. That was Mark Okwekuman's show then. And Mark was producing me, so I knew I was good. People would be calling me and saying, wow, you're playing bad songs. I'm like, yeah, that's me. That's all me. I didn't give Mark any credit. It was a good time. It was a learning curve. The one thing that we all say about Kwesi Chum is that he believed in us and he invested in us. Everybody at Joy FM, the pioneers of Joy FM, all had some training in radio. All of us, no questions asked. All of us had basic training in radio outside of the country. And for a radio station that had just started, you can imagine how much that should cost him. And when radio stations were not believing in buying surveys, for example, Kwesi Chum alone stuck out his neck, because his reason was that the survey results are the currency for any radio station. If the survey says you're the number one, when you are increasing your rates, you don't need any other reason to tell your clients that I have to increase my price. I'm the most listened to. So, so it was fun. It was family. We were family. We knew everybody's house, because when we all started, we all didn't have cars. So the company vans it was like a school pick, it was 4:30 there at your house, 5:30 there at this person's house, picking us up. But we loved it. We so loved it. And you won't believe it. It is the foundation of a lot of us who are, it has been the foundation for a lot of us in our chosen fields of career. The discipline, the work ethic, where you know how to have fun, but you have deadlines to meet. You better meet it, because we always used to say Kwesi Chum doesn't play with his money. So you can sit in the office with him and have a good chat, and he'll order fufu and you eat together. End of month, bring him zero. You'll see whether you'll still be laughing with him. So these are some of the things we picked and walked. I did 7 or 8 years before I moved on to go and further my studies. Yes. But when I went to do my studies, I realized that I knew everything that was being taught, because I had experienced it practically. And it was then that I realized what a lot of friends of mine who were studying in the UK were saying, that this thing of finishing your first degree and rushing off to doing your master's, when you get into the class, you realize that everybody in there is like a director of some company, and they already have a lot of experience from the world. So it's not textbook stuff you're learning. You're learning real life experiences. Our lecturers were people like the person who was teaching me PR was a PR for Buckingham Palace. You get, so she's not coming there to read to you textbook. No. You go and do that research. Yes, characteristics of a PR agency. You go and do that research. But she was going to tell how to fight fire, how to do this, how to manage image, how to do that, and it was, and I was so proud that, wow, we're not doing that badly in Ghana, because everything they spoke about, I had experienced it already at Joy FM. And, till date, we all thank Kwesi for the experience, because we probably would have had to pay more than whatever it is that we, the sacrifices that we made. So, I could go on about Joy FM. I could regale you. We did So there was Soup Kitchen. Then we did that Valentine promotion where we flew Jennifer Osei was her name then. Oh, Jennifer Osei something, and she's now Nati. They married. So we flew a couple from Accra to Akosombo Volta Hotel. I mean, it was just in Accra, but we thought, let's make it wow, let's fly them.
Helicopter.
And helicopter by the military. The military flew them, you know, and then it was a novelty. So the military was like, oh, sure, we'll fly you. You know, flew them there and then had a live party on the, what was it? Was it a yacht, ship, boat?
Yeah,
whatever, you know what I mean?
The
Dodi Princess, till next morning. We had the Get a Life promotion where someone won a house. I can't remember whether it was 2,000 Ghana now, as in 20 million back then, 2,000 Ghana now. We did the Disneyland promotion. We flew a family to Disneyland by reading. And all those things were things I was working on. So I really, finding myself where I am now, the foundation really started from Joy FM.
So I'm proposing a Saturday morning slot. Would you take that?
Yes. Yes, for my kids. For the kids. I have complained before that, no, I stand corrected, but the few media houses that I listen to, the most popular ones, I don't hear enough programming for children.
Did you say enough or none? Because I haven't heard any.
Let me say enough so I play it safe. So no one sues me. Enough. It's probable that there's none. I mean, if I take Joy FM, for example, there's nothing for children except for days where maybe it's like International Children's Day and then you have children coming to host. But I think that a regular program like a Saturday morning, where very early in the morning, where families are together, you know, and then again introducing children to the concept of radio, listening to radio at a young age, and not just for music but for features. My parents introduced us to radio as young as, well, by 6 we were listening to the BBC, because that's all they were listening to, and they were not TV fans. So we grew up listening to radio drama on BBC. So I'm used to not being with TV. I can adjust, you know, not living with TV, having a storybook or listening to radio, you know. But I think that it's about time that the media, electronic media, I can't speak for print yet, but electronic media, especially radio, because radio is so transient and it's everywhere. Started thinking of programming for children. There will be the next generation that would want to listen. You would want them to listen to your station. So if you start caring about them, you're building the loyalty even before, you know, even before they come to the stage where they decide whom I want to listen to.
That's a free marketing tip. Now, anybody who watches this show, I'm going to build them.
Build them.
I'm going to build them. Anybody that watches this, actually, I'm going to censor it. If you don't know what she says, call me. I'm going to take a break here. When I come back, I'm going to find out her life in UK and that one big experience that she brought back home. Don't move. Well, thank you very much for staying. You see, I told you that's the reason why I said get the kids by the TV, because they are going to pick something. And now here's the big thing. I'm sure you all know of spelling bees. And some of you only think, well, it's always been there, it's just been there. But how did it get here? I'm going to answer that question. How did spelling bee get to Ghana?
How did it get to Ghana? By perseverance, I must say, by perseverance. So I was studying in the UK and majoring in PR. And by my second year in my studies, I realized that I couldn't bring the concept of PR in the UK to Ghana. It was just too sophisticated. It was just too sophisticated. And I was also sure that I didn't want to come and work for anybody. I wanted to run a PR agency. So I started tasking myself. I knew I loved working with children and I loved to read, but I couldn't connect the two. So I was, honestly, I don't remember what took me online. But as I probably was looking for programs for children, and I chanced upon Script Spelling Bee. So I was interested because I loved spelling when I was in school. English was my strongest subject when I was in school, math, blah. So I found out that it was a competition that was open to countries from the world which were English speaking, from around the world which were English speaking. And I looked through and I realized Ghana wasn't in there, or no African country. So I sent them an email to say, you know,
hello.
Hi, if it's English speaking, how about Ghana? So they then came back and says, Ghana English speaking? So I said, yes, it is. And we'd like to get the franchise for it. So they said, okay, go through an application process and we'll get back to you. And I mean, coming from Ghana, when you hear that, you know what it means. Never, or by the time they get back to you, you're probably somewhere else. So I went through that that was my second year. So in my third and final year in the UK, I was certain that, I mean, really, the day I finished school, the next day I was on a plane back home. I was certain I wasn't cut out to live in the UK. I mean, don't get me wrong, I loved my experience there. I was rich. Whilst I was a student, I was actually working for BMW. PR, and it was awesome. It was really good. Awesome in the sense that you can't pay for the experience you get. BMW UK, yes. Okay. You can't pay for the experience that you get. And I found this job when I was in school, so it was great.
They are absolute over their image.
Yes, it was about image. I'll tell you a story. For example, BMW owns Rolls-Royce as well. And as part of our PR, when Rolls-Royce customer calls, regardless of where you are, and when the call comes in, it will come on a Rolls-Royce number, regardless where everybody dashes for the phone. It's one phone. It shouldn't ring more than two times. It's one phone, one person, but you will always see 8 people headed to it. The first person who grabs it, you know, is like a star. We all clap for you, and then we all go back to our normal life. It can't ring more than. And if the customer is complaining or saying, "Oh, I put the wrong fuel in my car and I started and it's broken down, so please come and tow it," BMW doesn't tow Rolls-Royce. So they bring a truck which is covered, and then they hide the car in it. That's how much of a premium was placed on Rolls-Royce. Like, nothing, Rolls-Royce cannot break down. How? No one should see it being told. I used to think, what is the big deal? You know, but as I got bit by the bug, I began to understand why. That's image. If people see that Rolls-Royce we're gonna towing, and even Rolls-Royce is, then let me keep my Mini Cooper, which was a BMW brand as well. So I loved my experience, but I was certain that I wanted to come back home and make a change with all that I had acquired. So before I got in, my friend who I used to work with at Joy FM, who was running Charter House, Theresa, I'd asked her that, can I get a job, you know, work with you for a year? I knew I didn't want to do more than a year, see how it goes. And so she said yes. As I was working with her, towards the end of the year, I got a job offer from PHC Motors. So I moved there after my year with Charter House. And did 6 months with PHC. I actually got fired from PHC. On like a week to Christmas, I got fired. And the reason it stays with me is, and I'm not saying it in a negative way, it's always a blessing. The reason it stays with me is, I didn't have a car of my own. So it was strategic that I was working with PHC because they gave me a car. Okay. So when they fired me, immediately I was like, that's my transportation gone. I wasn't even thinking of salary. I said, that's my transportation gone. I knew I couldn't afford transportation in Accra, you know. So it kind of, and then I was told on a Thursday, and I was told, so you hand over the car on Monday. I was like, what am I going to do? And, you know,
am I going to move around?
I know. And it was Christmas. People invite me to parties.
You had your worries.
Yeah, no worries. I don't think where the next paycheck would come from. So I went on, so I was going home, you know, crying, tears in my eyes. Because for me, my mom also had told me when I was coming back that Ghana is not how you left it. And I've been away for about 4 or 5 years. It's not the same. If I were you, stay on, find a job, you know, find your own, come back with money. Yes, I'm not doing any of that. I'm coming back. So for me, that time it was almost like a full circle of what my mom had said. You know, so I was crying because I was dreading it. I'm not going to tell her I've disappointed her. Maybe she was right. And then I stopped at the post office to pick our letters and got home, did more crying, and then sat down to go through the letters. Here was a letter from Script Spelling Bee saying, we've given you the franchise to run Spelling Bee in Ghana. So on the same day I got fired, I got a job, really. I got a job.
With that's how time on your hands.
Yes, with a lot of time on my hands, with no resources whatsoever. But what I give to Africa and therefore Ghana is that people may not give you money, but you will get help. I had a friend who I met when I was working at PHC, who offered to give me his car for 6 months, and then after that, decide whether you want to buy it or not. I don't know how many people do that in the West without charging you, you know. And I had just met him. So that was what helped, and that was how, so the spelling bee was being run from a car. I didn't have an office.
That was your office?
That was my office.
What car was it?
It was a Toyota Corolla. I'm just about selling it. It's killing me. That was 8 years ago. It's killing me. I don't want to sell it. But because it's relic for me. Like I see it, very sentimental. Do you agree with me? I shouldn't sell it.
No, don't sell it.
I shouldn't.
Just do it up and cover it.
But I'm picking up the money on Monday or so.
Oh dear. Tell me to change your mind.
Yeah, maybe.
Change your mind.
But yeah, so that's how it started. I got Anita Eskin was then working at Tigo, and I knew her from Joy FM, so she supported the program. Basically, I just worked on all my contacts who supported the program in its first year, because nobody was sure of it. In fact, the US Embassy told me point blank, you are going to run Scripps Spelling Bee? Do you know how old that program is? I just kept looking at the woman thinking, yes, it's 80 plus, but I'm going to try and run in Ghana. So the US Embassy actually said to me, you run it, let's see. If you're successful, we'll support you. So I said, okay, I like a challenge. So I did. And in the first year, we got to the US. So we did it locally. We got to the US, and I get a call in my room, and it's, hey, Mao, you know, it's Kamala Dumo. I was like, you, why are you calling me? He says, you're making history. Haven't you heard? It's all over the news that Ghana is making it as the first African country ever in the Scripps Spelling Bee. And then I asked, who is it? They said Mao, and I said, my own Mao, you know. So Kamala granted me interview. No, he didn't grant me. He granted the kid, Maria Isabel Kubabom, granted her an interview. That was an endorsement. We were all over. When I came back to Ghana, there were sponsors waiting to sign on. The US Embassy was like, okay, come, let's talk now. Because again, you can imagine that anyone can come and say anything. Let's see you do it. Actually go to America. And once BBC had covered it, that was it. That was it. That was it. That meant it was for real. But so you won when you went to America, or you placed? Or? So let's come to that. We didn't place, but again, from that first year, it wasn't the strategy. I knew we were not going to win because it was a new program. We didn't understand it to its fullest, and we had only 6 months to do the local one and for the winner to go to the US. So we didn't win, but we made history. The fact that it was the first time, yes. And since then, it's been gradual. We still haven't placed, as I speak to you, but we're getting there. The real reason we are not placing is that the reading culture is not instilled. It's not a habit, even across schools. Okay. So, I mean, we get to America, you're meeting an 8-year-old who's reading a Time magazine. And then you have a 12-year-old who's carrying an age-specific storybook, and you're telling yourself, wow, it's not a game, it's serious business. You know, it's really understanding words and using methods and what have you not. So so that's how Spelling Bee came to Ghana. Wow. Weren't you scared in the beginning, thinking, you know, am I going to fail? Am I going to get people to buy into this? I wasn't, you know, I was so optimistic. I was so sure that in the first year I was going to have about 200 schools sign up. I had 6 schools though. I was so sure that it was going to work. I was so sure the acceptance rate was going to be high because Ghanaians are big on education. And so over the years I've learned to manage my expectations. I'm learning a lot. I'm learning that unfortunately in Ghana, we think education is limited to the classroom and it must be academic and it must be examined by a board. So the Spelling Bee doesn't check these boxes, and so a lot of schools and parents actually see it as a distraction. Like, oh, what's the point of this? I mean, teachers actually said to me that spelling is not an examinable subject. No, it's not. But if you misspell on your paper, it will bleed. So there's a connection there. So that has been our challenge, the acceptance or the lack of it. To be able to read. I mean, if there's a school watching us today and say, we are not on this program, I mean, what do they do and how do they get on it? Oh, basically just reach us. Either they call us or send us an email and say we're interested in participating in the Spelling Bee. Where if you go online, it's yefoundation-gh.org, and then send us an email from there. Then what, you go in there, give them a set of words to... No, and I'm so happy you brought that up. because that's not what spelling is about. That's dictation. That's dictation. The difference between spelling and dictation. Dictation means just tell me back what I'm giving to you. That's what happens in dictation.
Yeah.
Spelling is a subject on its own. Spelling will teach you that the English language is from at least 13 other origins. So, depending on the origin, it will define how it should be spelt and how it should be pronounced. So if you took the Greek alphabet, which is my favorite, the Greek, the F letter, they don't have F in their letters, okay? But they have the F sound, and it's spelled with a PH.
Okay.
So any child who knows phosphorus is of a Greek origin. Phone. So any PH word. So these are the tips if you came into Latin, which is the base of the English language. CH normally has a ch sound. If you came into Italian, double C, ch, or SC gives you ch, that sort of thing. So once you are able to teach a child, or you learn these tricks of, we call them tips actually, of spelling, it makes it easy for you to pronounce any word. There's also this other tip where people ask, that's a long word, how are you able to spell it? Because it's probably made up of a prefix, a suffix, and then it has its body. So the word, I'm thinking of a word that has a prefix. So pedestrian, P-E-D, could be related to the feet. Ped, related to the feet, could be related to children. So pediatrician, so that's the P-E-D. Pedestrian. So once a child learns this, then breaking down the words to spell becomes easy. So you know that, okay, I'm hearing phosphorus. Is it Greek? Yes, it's Greek. Okay, so that first part is actually a PH. I need to figure out the rest of it, because we all can't learn all the words in the dictionary.
So then, okay, so Edumasa Primary then registers to get spelling bee. You're not going to give them dictation.
No.
Does it mean you're going to train a teacher in the school to teach the kids the tips?
Nuances, yeah.
Or you come in there and do the tips?
We used to train the teachers. It was a problem. Because there were genuine concerns, I must say. Teachers are on, what's it called? In secondary school, we used to call them periods. Like a timetable. Okay, so spelling bee or spelling is not in there. So the teachers were finding it difficult, even though we trained them. They find it difficult to use their newly acquired skills, even though we're encouraging them that you can use it in dictation. So change your dictation to spelling, but they need a policy from GES to do that. So what we ended up doing is we train the children ourselves now.
Okay.
So you give us a number of children from your school, and we actually test their vocabulary, because spelling is heavily dependent on vocabulary as well, and vice versa. So we test their vocabulary to tell, because again, a lot of people seem to think, oh, my child speaks very good English, or my child loves reading, they'll make ace it in the spelling bee. No. A lot of the children gloss over words. If they can't pronounce the word, they just say anything and go over it. So that doesn't make them a good speller. A good speller will probably not be an all-rounder. They will not be. They probably will be that child who's in the class, who's always quiet and just looking in the book. During playtime, they are sitting there reading. That's the child you're looking for, or who's always looking through newspapers, and not an A+ student. That's not to say an A+ student will not be a good speller, but it's not always the case the other way around.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. I'm going to take a break here, and then when I come back, I mean, what's the ultimate goal? Just so that you can spell, or what's the ultimate goal of spelling bee? Stay tuned. Well, thank you for staying. Mauna Ajua Tachie Menson and her contribution to national development, the spelling bee. What would be the motive, just so that the kids could spell, or what's the...
Far from it. I mean, when I took on the spelling bee, I mean, what excited me about it was how, one, it makes our children at a very young age an ambassador. So they have a sense of responsibility and sort of commitment to a cause. Confidence. So confidence, I mean, definitely, because as you may be aware, the program gets the child to stand in front of a microphone and throw the adult the questions. So if the child's word was rain, they have to ask a question, because there are other rains and we're not sure which one they are. So the child has to ask me to define it, to put it in a sentence, repeat it if they didn't hear. And you know that this is not how our traditionally, this is not how we are brought up.
Are you talking back at me?
Thank you. Why are you asking me questions? I'm telling you to spell rain, which is what dictation does. So dictation will eliminate all these words with similar sounds, but they exist. There's rain from heaven. There's a reign of a chief, or and then there's what's the other one? The reins on a horse. So which one are you asking me to spell? Again, I think that it allows for, or it encourages critical thinking, which cannot be really taught. Well, it could be taught, but not at that young age. And again, and unfortunately, our educational system doesn't encourage critical thinking. So everything is just produced for you. These are the notes, learn. Children don't necessarily have to do too much research. So the spelling bee really encourages that as well. It also teaches it teaches our kids at a young age how to be good sportsmen. I have always had a problem where whenever we play football as a country and we don't win, someone is always at fault and someone has to be fired, or maybe it's just because you were not ready. There's that too. There's that too. You didn't prepare well. It's not always one person. The coach has to go, And it's important that we instill that in our children now, where they know that I gave it my best, but someone did better. It is possible. You are not the only one destined for fame or for good things. The other person to praise to their God. And it's just maybe not your time. And with our program, because we encourage children to come in young, so probably age 8. And when you're coming in, obviously in your first year, the plan is not to win. So again, when they keep coming back, the confidence is stronger, the experience is better. And for me, those two things are critical. They are building their vocabulary base, which a lot of students in the sort of research schools and the GISs will need when they are writing their external exams to enter colleges outside of Ghana. There's a core of it that a core of the external exam is dependent on vocabulary.
He uses here to hit my ear.
To check.
He uses here to hit my ear.
Or did I have on my hand? So it's far from teaching them how to spell. And it's also to teach you to be a better or a more effective communicator. So you know when to use big and you know when to use huge. They all mean the same thing, but they need to be used differently, for example. Have you ever, and I'll task you to do that starting this year, junior graphic, chief examiner's report on any subject. English is always a problem. English is always the problem, including math or science. They were misspelling. Because when you misspell, you miscommunicate. When you say crowd and you actually mean cloud, crowd is a word. Shoot into the crowd. Do you hear that story about May 9? I don't know whether, I always say it, I don't know whether it was a joke, but apparently the command was shoot into the crowd, and they meant cloud. And they shot into the crowd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's,
if it is true.
And that's serious. Anyway, you started with 6 schools. How many schools are on board now?
We've gone through, I think, over 8 years. We started with 6 schools. The following year, we shot up to 50. At our highest, we've done 200 schools. As we speak now, I think we have about 100 schools. But what we're actually beginning to focus on is not necessarily number of schools, but number of students that we're impacting. Because some schools will give you reasons why they don't want their school to participate. And so we find ways of saying, okay, if you're not interested as a school, there will be children in there who will be interested. Can we have access to them? Because at the end of the day, it's about that child. Our goal is to empower our children at a young age. It always is a tad embarrassing when where we go to the US and we're the only African country. And a lot of, as you may know about Americans, are quite ignorant about Africa. They think Africa is a one country. So when they see us, they all rush up to you and want an autograph. And our average Ghanaian child is shying away and doesn't know how to come because we're not used to it, you know. And I think that waiting till they're tertiary level before finding themselves is not right. Whereas they are meeting their age contemporaries who are chatting them up or trying to chat them up and not getting anything back. I think it's embarrassing. I mean, this thing of children need to know when to speak, definitely. And I think that even more when they are ambassadors, even more when they're ambassadors. So for us, I won't say we're losing focus of concentrating on schools, but we're thinking for us, the ultimate client is the child. So if a school is not interested, but their children in there who are interested, we'll work with them.
I see. PR. What are you doing with that PR certificate?
I guess with what I'm doing is, sorry, it's definitely related to my work, you know, where I'm on a constant case of trying to create an understanding of what we do and the end result, which is what he just asked me. This is just about spelling. Yeah. And it's not. And it takes a lot of effort. And again, when I started, I thought, I'm sure by year 3 I'll be so oversubscribed, I'll just go and live in the village and let someone run the program. But I think that the things you learn in PR is as good as learning media. You know how to use your skills, you know how to fight fire, you know how to communicate. There will always be a situation where things don't look good. I mean, Spelling Bee has always suffered the image of it's an elitist program, and we're on a constant drive to prove and show to people that far from it. It's not elitist at all. It's open to anybody who is interested. And even in situations where we've gone to, I was telling you about a village in BA called Koduhia, where they couldn't afford to enroll themselves. We found them a community sponsor. So really, PR is plain in every day.
Do you have like a pool of teachers?
I have a pool of teachers, yes, who are all Ghanaian trained, but majored in English or have a strong background in English.
And what's the radius that they travel?
As far as Wa, I've had my teachers travel to Wa, and they all volunteer. So they are not on full-time salary on my end. They volunteer because they're passionate about it, they enjoy it, and we share the same vision. And I must say that for every school that has, or parent that has said, this is a good program, we want to think of academics, the teachers make up for it for me. They do, they really do. They really do.
You seem like a nice boss.
Not always. Not always. Not always.
You seem like a nice boss. How's mom? How proud is she of you, your mom?
My mom is so proud of me. She's a grammarian herself, so she is proud of me. But why am I saying it for her? Why shouldn't I ask you to ask her? But no, my mom is really proud of me. She's always at my Spelling Bee programs, at the national finals, always there to watch and support me. And she's still always correcting me. Even I don't know it all. She's still correcting me.
How are you finding time for Mr. and the little one?
I do. So when the Spelling Bee runs about 9 or 10 months in the year, and the heavy periods are between Easter, the heavy periods are Easter and then right when school reopens in there for the academic year. Those are the busiest times.
Okay.
But in between that, I make time for the family. And Mr. actually doesn't have time for me. Half of the time he's not in town. So.
Anyway, you need to let us in. How were you swept off your feet? I think we're all to share.
By the Mr. How was I swept off? What did he say? What did he say?
Chocolate, big bunch of roses, candlelights.
That romantic. Kidding, I'm kidding. We met at a party and I didn't even notice him. It was in the night and I was traveling, I think, the next day, and a friend of mine invited me to a quick play party, or Spokwe, a party. So I went, ate, And we exchanged one line. I honestly couldn't even remember him. And the next day, my friend called and said, "You remember the guy you were chatting with? He's asking for your number. Should I let you have it?" I was like, "What does he look like?" I couldn't remember. But I said, "Sure, give it to him." And then after that, he did the chocolates and the cakes things because I have a sweet tooth. And then I'll tell you, I don't think he swept me off my feet. No, I think I was grown past that.
But that one line, I think.
Yes, there was a one line he said that didn't sync with me immediately. It took me a while. So we were at we were at a pub in Takoradi by the seaside. It was very nice. And then we were chatting, and out of the blue, he goes, "I've stopped searching." I was like, "Stop searching for what?"
That's the line I was looking for. I'm going to use it. I have to use that line.
We had to do it 3 times. He had to do it 3 times. I was like, "Oh, that? Okay."
That is a good line. Stop searching.
It is. I stopped searching.
Wow.
Yeah, it
Let's
is a
move
good
to
line.
Blisco, because I know you are an ambassador for Blisco too.
Yes,
So I think
honorably so.
Yeah, you know, honorable.
No, I said honorably.
How did that happen, and what do you have to do? Just look pretty?
How did Blisco happen? I say it's the kids of Ghana. I mean, I was nominated to become an ambassador on the strength of the spelling bee.
Wow.
The fact that I brought spelling bee to Ghana. And a lot of people, I remember when I was nominated and I was going around campaigning, people said, "We don't know you." I said, "Ask your children." And they'll come back and say, "Oh yes, we know her, that's the spelling bee woman." But I think that it goes to show how much of an impact I'd made on children's lives. And I keep saying that I remain grateful. I believe in the children of Ghana. I think that we're capable of so much and more, our kids. We just don't want to let them show it. We contain our children too much. We think that we need to wait till they're about 18 before they start showing off their talents. But I say that as young as whatever age, whatever talent they have, let's let them explore it. Let's let them be ambassadors. Let's let them take on responsibilities at young ages. So I got a call from Pascarina, who was working, the agency that works, the one event that works for Blisco, and said, "Eugenia Tachie Menson, I'm calling you on behalf of Blisco. You've been nominated as Blisco ambassador." And I'll get this, the year before, I'd been invited to watch the program, and I was so excited, and I was looking forward to the next one. So when she called me, I was like, "Me?" She said, "Yeah, you." I was like, "Okay." So she said, "Okay, so in a few days, we'll be sending you an email to confirm." And I hung up and I said, "What if there's another Eugenia Tachie Menson out there?" And it was a mistake. So I didn't say anything. This was, I think, probably called me October. I didn't say anything until the letter came. I didn't say anything to my family members till the letter did come in. And then I shared with them. I said, and then I started gloating. I was like, "I have been nominated, nominee, you know." And it was, when I started asking questions. So who nominated me? I mean, how did you hear about me? And really, it was the spelling bee. It was because you do the spelling bee. And I thought, wow. I was in my corner minding my own business. Maybe not, but yeah. Minding my own business when, you know, I thought that nobody cared about education. I really did think so. I thought it was just me and the kids. They know what we're doing. And so, for me, I was impressed that the children could propel me to this height. Did I think I would win? No. Why? Not because I didn't think I was capable, but I didn't think I'd win. I enjoyed the journey, and I knew Anita Eskin already, so I met Aisha Bedway, who was equal. They were all competent women. It could have been anyone's win, and so when I was declared winner, I was over the moon.
You are directly in touch with the children, and basically, I say if you always want to see our future, that's it. Just look at the kids. Yeah. That's the future. Yeah. What future are we breeding in our country?
None.
Wow.
Now, I say that I don't agree that the children are our future. I say the children are our present. If you have a 9-year-old and I've seen this before on a program in the US, and this woman was she has a disease. Sorry, it's just skipped my mind for a second, so I'll go on and I'll come back to it. She has this like she gets epileptic fits. Okay. She's taught her 9-year-old what to do because she's a single parent, and she was driving once and had an incident. The child knew to turn off the key in the engine, turn on the hazards, call 911. Are you telling me you're going to wait till they're 18 to tell them that? Children are our present. We need to stop saying their future, because the more we say, the more we think, so let's leave everything till later. Do it now. Teach the children, arm them. Again, another thing I talk about, people say I'm morbid. There are no guarantees that you're going to outlive your child. So, based on that, arm them such that if you're not around, they can live without you. You are not going to be around forever. You don't know that you'll be around for them. The future looks bleak, if you ask me. We're bringing up selfish children. Again, it may not be deliberate, but that's what we're ending up doing. Our children don't know how to share, especially children who come from who are only children, or there are 2 or 3, and everybody has their own room, everybody has their own TV. I mean, in my house, I was having an argument with my husband. He thought we should have a TV in our bedroom so we watch. I said, no, let's learn to watch family, all be in one room. If you want to watch football today, I will learn to sacrifice. So today, I can't watch what I want. We need to instill these in our children. We're bringing up children who don't know how to eat our own local foods. Someone sits back and says, oh, what's the big deal? It is a big deal, because nothing is guaranteed. There are no guarantees that 20 years from now, we still can be able to import rice from wherever rice comes from. So teach your children how to eat kenke, banku, boiled yam, kokonte, fufu. So when they find themselves in a village, or something happens to you and they have to go and live with someone whose diet consists of that, Obano omre. We are bringing up children who are not ready for the world. That's my concern. In our program, we camp the children for a week. And when you hear the things they are not, an 11-year-old can't do, I can't wash the collar of my shirt. Why? Take a bar of soap, slap it on it, add water to it, rub it. Because we have house helps doing everything. We need to, and so, but you are worrying the child more. The argument is that I've met a 6-year-old who can't flip the pages of a book. You know why? She's always sliding an iPad to read.
See, I could sit here and talk for hours and hours and hours, but that's all time would allow us. You see why I told you to get the kids by here? Because they will walk away better than they came to sit in front of the screen. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been good talking to you.
Yeah,
You're so easy to talk to.
Folks, until I come to you next Friday with a different personality, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.